Welcome to the Optional Boss Podcast. This is episode 56, and around the corner, by the time the episode afterwards, actually no, not even, but Switch 2. Switch 2 is on its way, and we are getting a Nintendo Direct April 2nd. So today we are going to talk about Switch 2 and the Switch's legacy and what we love about it, and what we are predicting. So Tyler, first up, let's do our good old intro. Yammers, what have you been up to?
Let's get a yamming.
Yamming.
You know what? I've actually been up to a fair bit. Trying to think of what I was playing last time we were talking. I think it was just a little bit of Elden Ring, just kind of fill the void. Oh yes, that's right. I started Mega Man X7, which I have finished.
Yes.
What a mess! Oh my god. I'm glad
Is it everything you ever wanted it to be?
I don't know what I wanted it to be. I don't think it would have been that. You know what? I can say that like it had its fun, and there were some good ideas, just implemented very poorly. Is it one that I will ever replay? Not likely, unless I just want to look at it for some morbid curiosity, but I'm glad I got it out of the way. And then I also started and finished Mega Man X8, and boy, what a vast improvement over the previous one. It's too bad the franchise still had to die anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that tends to happen, right?
Well, you know what? If you were there at the time, you know that there was more Mega Man than Mega Man fans could handle, and quality was starting to dip a little bit, and even when there was quality, people were just like, well, that's too many. So
yeah,
it makes sense, but I can at least safely say that X8, quality Mega Man game. It's, I don't particularly like the art style because it's a 3D sort of thing, but it still plays like a standard just 2D action platformer Mega Man game. And it was fun. Not going to be like in my top 10 by any means, but now I can move on to the Mega Man X remake that I downloaded a while ago and actually understand it. So that's exciting.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Other than that,
talking about that franchise's death, it's like Mega Man 11 did really good, and we haven't seen anything since. And when did that come out? That came out like 2018.
I believe it was 2018.
Something like that.
It's been oof. We're creeping up on, 10 years is still a bit away, but at the same time, Mega Man has successfully entered another hibernation period, that's for sure. But since
absolutely.
then, we have at least gotten a pretty steady trickle of, like, the collections. So, and
that's including, like, Battle Network and stuff. We still are waiting on that Reject collection.
The
Reject
the
Legends
collection.
and all the spin-offs that they wouldn't fit into anywhere else.
Legends, Star Force, Mega Man and Base, Tron Bond, just
Command
all that.
Mission.
Command Mission's a neat curiosity. I can at least safely say I beat it and like the extra difficult content. It's
for anyone who doesn't know what Command Mission is, it's the Mega Man turn-based RPG.
It's made by the Breath of Fire people, and they make solid games. It's just this wasn't one of them. So, but beyond that, I recently picked up the Yu-Gi-Oh! Early Days collection, which, Konami just knocking it out of the park with their collections. Once again, we've got 16 classic Game Boy, just Yu-Gi-Oh! Games. So realistically, like 3 games.
Yep.
But at the same time, like, I'm a sucker for Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and card games. Like, I have a bunch of these as Game Boy Advance cards. So this is just a solid collection in my mind. It's not great. I don't know how porting this was so rough, because somehow there's, like, sound stuttering, and, like, sometimes some of the games will perform at, like, entirely wildly differing frame rates. Like, conversational text boxes will fly by, but then you'll have animation stutter, like it. Oof.
So I know we were talking off air about this. It's not just the one then.
It was a couple of them. Like, I haven't booted them all. There were 16 games on the damn thing. But like a couple of them that I tried, they've just felt a little off. Some of them, however, run flawlessly. And I'm not gonna be too picky about like graphical fidelity. They're Game Boy Advance games, you know. I'll live. I have for years, but it's still just you see like the Cowabunga collection and the Castlevania collections and stuff, and you know, Yu-Gi-Oh's a big deal for Konami, so I'm a little surprised it's as sloppy as it is. But at the same time, it's going to get ongoing support. They're adding online to these old-ass games, which is just fucking cool.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
And I mean, it wasn't like, you know, it was a full-price game or anything. It's just a quirky little collection. So that's a nice boot up until, you know, you figure out what you're doing. But more importantly than that, and everyone, if you have Switch Online, this is a very important message for you. They just added Donkey Kong for Game Boy, otherwise known as Donkey Kong 94. And if you have Nintendo Switch Online, play this fucking game. It is so goddamn good, even for an original Game Boy game. Yes, I've been playing that. I have not
played it.
I think I started it last night and I'm already halfway through it.
Oh damn.
Yeah, it's one of those games, not to go into too much detail, but like if you know the secret mechanics, like it does the Super Metroid thing where like it'll show you, it won't tell you how to do cool shit, but once you figure out how to, the game is so much fun. And I'm not really a puzzle platformer guy, so that says a lot.
I will have to check it out.
I would recommend it.
But now that it's on there, it's much easier too.
Significantly. But yeah, I've been up to a fair bit of stuff. How about yourself?
So I've been into a few things. Again, forget what I was playing last time. I don't think it was Factorio. I beat that. Wrap that up. I think we already talked about that.
I believe you were still working through Tomb Raider, or maybe had just finished it and you finished it and then you did Yume Nikki.
Yes, so I did Tomb Raider 2. That was a fun time. Very weird time. Did Yume Nikki? That is also weird. I think I was talking about playing Yume Nikki, and for anyone who doesn't know, it's kind of like a RPG Maker walking simulator where you got to go around and find these different like effects in the dream world. And then how it ends is just like, oh shit, okay. It's very artsy, I guess you could say.
It's like a horror thriller kind of, you know, make you uncomfortable sort of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For anyone who has played Amori, it's like Dark Space.
It's that weird shit, man.
Just very, very strange and off-putting, and yeah. But it was pretty neat. It was cool to check out. And then I went into playing Gunbrella. And you are essentially a man who returns home to find their baby gone and their wife dead. And there's just this gun that is also an umbrella left at her body.
Go!
And then, yeah, pretty much. But it's kind of neat because it's like your umbrella is also your dash, so you can like dash into the air and stuff. And then it'll just glide down. It was a fun time. Not overly difficult or anything. But it was neat story-wise. I mean, not much of a story, but yet at the same time there is the world's interesting. And it made it interesting. And Tyler, I think I said to you, like, it reminded me of Iconoclast, just not on that level of Iconoclast.
Yeah, Iconoclast is something else. But I mean, if it's got that kind of like feel to its gameplay, where we don't give you a lot of tools, but we give you a lot of ways to use those tools.
Yes.
I think that's a really satisfying thing. I know when I saw Gunbrella like announced, it just looked like a wacky classic Devolver good time. So,
and that's pretty much what it is. It was really neat.
Yeah.
Then I was kind of like, I don't know what I want to do. So, anyways, I decided I wanted to relax with some good old Sekiro.
Yes, the most chill time.
Yes. So, went through a playthrough of that, got the true ending. I struggled a bit more than I usually do, but it was still a good time. Says the
person who beat it in like 3 days.
Yes. Well, in all fairness, when I was doing my platinum run, maybe the last time I was playing, I was on New Game Plus 7, and I beat it all the way. Not taking the short ending or the bad ending, but one of the I think it might have even been the ending I got this time. It was less than a day.
Jeez.
On New Game Plus 7. So
So it's not quite as big as your standard Souls game.
No, I mean, it can be because of its difficulty, and there's a lot to explore and whatnot. Just I've seen a lot of it.
Well, it's a lot more, would you say, like, linear?
Yes and no, but also yes.
But also, yes.
So, and what I mean by that, like, you are kind of guided along a path. There is a different area that you can kind of go back to the past and experience it's called the Harada Estates. And it's just kind of like a almost prequel-ish zone to everything that's happened. But you can kind of do that at any moment. But going on the linear path up until you get to Ashina Castle, you are kind of left to go where you want. So you can either go to, and I don't think this is spoilers. These are just names, and they mean nothing until you actually experience it. But like Senpo Temple, you can go to the Sunken Valley. You can go deal with the Gun Fort. So you're essentially tasked with gathering some items. It's very much like the section in Dark Souls 1 where you gotta ring the bells. You can choose which way you want to go. One way is going to be easier than another, but
I was going to compare it to like the latter half of Dark Souls 1, but all the same, the analogy fits.
Yes. Well, essentially you gotta gather two things, and you also gotta find a different zone as well. Yeah. So there's technically three things that you gotta go gather.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Final Boss gave me a bit of a run for my money, which I think last time I played, I beat him first try. So, but it was a good time. I enjoyed going back to it. I don't need to play it for a while. I got the platinum already, so this was literally just for kicks.
That's pretty much how I was when I was booting up Elden Ring again. It was like, I just kind of feel like dicking around in one of these games for a bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, after that, I'm like, I don't really know what I want to get into. And I just happened to be, so when I was doing the ending of Sekiro, I was online in a party, streaming to a buddy of mine. And so we were just kind of shooting the shit and whatnot. So I didn't really want to just turn off my PlayStation because that's how I was talking to him. So it's like, what do I got on my shelf that I still need to play? So I booted up Kena Bridge of Spirits.
I forgot that you had that.
Yes, so did I. And it's neat. It's I'm enjoying it so far. It's very rudimentary in its game design. Go to an area, clear it, kind of move on. So far, but they are gradually increasing your tools. It is like playing a Pixar movie. It is really pretty.
It kind of gave me that vibe of like, you know, every PlayStation generation has your nondescript action platformer game. Not specifically of like high pedigree, but you look at something like the PS2, like a Jak and Daxter, sort of like that. That's the kind of vibe I got from that game.
Well, I mean, they have Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
Now, Liza P. I was just looking at that. Kena Bridge of Spirits it started with two brothers, and now they grew to like a core of 15 people. But that's who developed it. They had some funding from Sony, but it is technically an indie game.
Nifty.
So it's really well done. The voice acting is pretty decent for what it is. Absolutely gorgeous, like views and whatnot, and very much a like where I'm at is it's getting into like it's starting to ramp up the combat a bit, because before it's just like, okay, you got your light attack, your heavy attack, your dodge, and now you have like, okay, you got bow and arrow, you got your heavy, your light, and then you also have these minions that you gather as you kind of go, and it kind of reminds me of like Pikmin, which is a weird analogy, but they're called the Rot, and it's just these like little purple and black dudes that are like spirit guides or something. I don't really know what they are. It's just called the Rot, but they can do so many different things. You can turn them, you can throw them on an enemy, and they'll distract the enemy enough so you can get some attacks in. So whether it's a boss or something, or if they have a shield, you can distract them so they'll put down the shield and attack. And they do a little bit of damage themselves too, so. But then you use it for, like, other things. Like, you find, they're called forest tears. And they essentially, all the rot that you have, go into it and form into a liquid that you control with the right stick. So instead of your camera, you're controlling them with the right stick and yourself with the left stick. So it's very kind of jarring, but
Huh.
then you can use that to take out corruption in the forest. So start clearing a path out. So, but they're like Pikmin minions.
Interesting. So it's kind
So-
of got that simultaneous control gameplay.
Yes, you can also use them to like pick up things and place them for you. So if it's like a big boulder or something that you're going to need to jump up on a ledge, you get them to pick it up and move it to where so you control them. Or you point directions on what to do and give them instructions as you go.
Interesting.
So it's neat. I'm enjoying it so far. Clearly it's ramping up some stuff. Has also like, granted I'm still very early on, so I don't know the full ramifications of what's actually going to be happening, but looking for this character named Toro. And I have his mask, and when I put the mask on, I see his like memories
Oh, neat.
of last time he was in that spot in like a first person perspective. Now I can't move around, but I'm looking around and I can see like things and get an idea of where he went. So trying to find out where he went. It is very linear. Like there's not much exploration. There is a little bit, but not much.
Yeah.
No more than an original Zelda game. I'll say that.
It does have kind of a almost like action puzzle platformer kind of sound to it.
Yes.
Which,
So I'm interested in where it's going to go and what kind of I'm curious on where the combat's going to go difficulty wise. I actually did die on the last boss fight I did, and it's like, oh, okay, I got to pay a bit more attention. This isn't just going to be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
So
Deceptively simple seeming.
Yes, especially with its Pixar look. So it was definitely one of those things that it's like, okay, I'm going to pay a bit more attention. It's not going to be as cakewalky as I thought it once was, which I mean I'm perfectly okay with.
Yeah.
The fact that like, because combat up to that point was like, okay, this is pretty easy. Just attack the guys, blow up their nest, done. And when you jump, and you got a double jump, but when you shoot the bow, it's real time. But when you double jump and then pull the bow as you're in the air, it's slow-mos. Which,
it does
as
kind
someone
of like the
who
Breath of the
can't,
Wild thing.
yeah, as someone who can't aim on console, I very much appreciate that.
Yep.
Especially when there's like little tiny things on the boss that you got to shoot with the bow.
And yet, did you play Tears of the Kingdom? I can't remember. Oh yeah,
No.
You still haven't gotten to it yet.
No, I have not. So yeah, I'm going through that right now, and I'm quite enjoying it.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. Not sure what I
Finally.
want to do on the horizon. But,
I think that was like my third or fourth game I got for my PlayStation 5, and I just never put it in.
I know it was a fairly early release.
Yes.
So
yeah, that's pretty much all I've been up to. But I know I got a lot of Switch games that I still need to play, like Rain World. Not that that's Switch exclusive by any means, but we are physical collectors, so physical game, that's something I've looked into and wanted, but never got because there was no physical, and I just never played it. It's mixed in with my 500 games on Steam. Having a physical that, now I can actually see it physically and be like, oh yeah, that's going to be my next thing. And got that with quite a few Switch games. So with that said, let's actually talk about the Switch's legacy and dive into some assumptions and predictions on the Switch 2. Sound good?
we'll be right back, folks.
So the Nintendo Switch, as we know, there's a Switch 2 coming finally after years and years of rumors of it being an actual thing even. One thing I'm going to say, what do you think of the name?
I think it's smart. I don't think it's very original, but I think they really want to avoid like a Wii U or 3DS kind of blunder where this is very blatantly the same thing but different, not like, oh, it's an accessory or oh, it's just an upgrade, right? It's doing the PlayStation thing.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think doing the PlayStation thing this far along with X amount of consoles released, I don't know if that's really a smart idea.
I was kind of
To
hoping they
to
were
be
going to
honest,
call it the Super Switch, but I feel like that's something that you run into the same issue.
see the Super Switch, I think would. I mean, if you think back in the day when people didn't really know about video games, the NES and then the Super Nintendo, or Nintendo and then Super Nintendo, people were confused about that the same way that the Wii U and Wii was, right? So Nintendo's kind of had a blunder with that kind of stuff. So I think like a completely original name would have been fine, but at the same time I understand why they stuck with the Switch. So I think like calling it a Super Switch and like kind of keeping that, I don't know, just
Admittedly,
continuity almost. And then
if
like number 3 could be like the Ultra.
well, if Nintendo wanted to, like, you know, basically create their Omni console, their magnum opus, it will play literally everything that ever has. I would love it if they just called it a Nintendo. Just take back to the days of like when you're a kid. It's just like, what are you playing on your Nintendo? And that would be an accurate statement.
Yes, and I
Like,
mean
I know
honestly, that used to be how it was. It's like everything. If it was the Sega, oh, they're playing the Nintendo. PlayStation, they're playing the Nintendo. But it's definitely shifted nowadays because it's like,
every
oh, that's the
handheld
PlayStation.
was a Game Boy.
Every handheld was a Game Boy.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have that anymore with people who don't know any better.
Nope.
It seems to be the PlayStation now. And I mean,
That is very true.
I guess I can definitely understand. They have been kind of dominating the markets, and
I think not only that, PlayStation is more of the first thing that comes to mind when you think home console these days.
yep. I mean,
So-
Nintendo is. They had some floundering with the Wii U. Wii was very much looked at as a children's toy. They haven't really expanded the market. Switch, on the other hand, was like, I know we don't care for this title, but I know a lot of people do, so we'll mention it. It launched with Skyrim.
It did launch with Skyrim.
That's not
and the funniest
children's
thing
game.
about it launching with Skyrim, I mean, yeah, that was a big deal. That was just like, hey, like non-Nintendo thinkers, we're doing this too. And
Yeah.
smart on their part. It's just so funny though that like people are impressed by Skyrim a total of, oh god, okay. So the Switch came out in 2017, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and when did Skyrim come out?
11.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so you know what? That doesn't actually seem that extreme considering that's 6 years from Skyrim to the Switch, and we have a further gap from the Switch coming out to now than that, which
Yep.
is weird to think
But
about.
if you want to put like, granted that was at launch, but they also have like Doom Eternal on there.
Yep.
Not that I played it. I'm sure it's like
Not the best
optimized
way to do it.
optimized the best way it can so it'll run on lackluster hardware, but
Well,
it is on there
have-
and it is playable.
I don't have Doom Eternal, but I do have, you know, Doom 2016 for Switch. Haven't
That
played
actually
it
came
'cause
out
I'm-
pretty early out.
It did, yes.
pretty early on. Sorry.
And like I am trash at it, but it's a very competent port for, you know, you're getting Doom.
Yeah. Granted, it was 2015 release, but The Witcher 3. And I
Yeah.
know people like bash it. Oh, look at this version of it and whatnot. It looks like garbage. I found it just fine. Honestly,
Yep.
like that was my first playthrough was on Switch, and I enjoyed every minute of it. But
So-
then you're also comparing to like people who graphics are end all be all versus
Yeah.
people who are just looking for an enjoyment, whether it's stories or just gameplay or that sort of thing, right? Like, a big issue with AAA games nowadays is like a lot of them rely way too much on graphics. They're becoming more expensive, and they're kind of lackluster on gameplay, or
Meanwhile,
they're very handholdy.
which I go in the opposite direction. If you want to catch my eye, you give me some of that old school crunchy pixels. Ho ho ho!
Or
I
the
am
HD
in.
2D that SquareSoft has been doing.
Well, see, that's actually what I was going to ask. What was, because I know you were mildly late to getting a Switch.
Yep.
Because I know I got mine. Ooh, Switch had probably been out for a year and a half, maybe 2 years at this point. Like it wasn't quite the drought that it was, but there still wasn't a plethora of games.
No, that
But-
first little while there was like next to nothing.
But what was the first game that you saw that was like just for Switch that kind of made you go, all right, I guess I'm getting a Switch?
Honestly, it was kind of you talking about it that convinced me.
I was
to actually
talking it up pretty hard.
You were.
That's for sure.
The first game I actually got for it, though, not technically a Switch exclusive, but yeah. Breath of the Wild.
So Breath of the Wild, actually, because I bought my first Switch, secondhand, and it came with a copy of Breath of the Wild. And I personally think that even though, yes, it is a Wii U title as well, Breath of the Wild is like the defining Switch game. Like when you think of the N64, you think of Mario 64, like stuff like that.
Or arguably Ocarina of Time.
Or Ocarina of Time, yeah. But it's the game that like identifies as the game for said console.
Absolutely.
But even though that was the first thing I played, and don't get me wrong, it blew me away. It gave me like, almost like, and not comparing the two games by any means, but that feeling that you had when you first played like a open world GTA game, and it kind of just like blew your mind with all the stuff you could do and what ease you could do it with, right?
Yep.
So, but actually, the game that made me go, all right, I guess I'm buying a Switch. It was either when they first announced the Switch and there was like a sizzle reel of like things coming, there was a brief snippet of this gorgeous looking classic pixel RPG that would eventually become Octopath Traveler. The funniness that I haven't even beaten that game, but
yeah,
it was just like, oh, the Switch is going to be doing stuff like that? Okay, I think I'm going to have it. And then finally, the nail in the coffin, which would not come to fruition until several years later, was they also announced Shin Megami Tensei 5 was going to be a Switch exclusive. And that's when it was an entirely different product. And yeah, it's like, ow, guess I gotta get it.
And then they remastered 3 and put it on the Switch too.
Which is so cool, because I'd never played it before.
But not your precious 4.
Not my precious 4, no. I would really like, ooh, I'll save that for when we get on to this inevitable sequel. But yeah, that first little, even as a late adopter, that first little while for Switch was pretty dry.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, the second game I ended up getting, I believe, was Super Mario Odyssey, because I was actually super stoked for that. And then I started playing it, and it's like, this is when I realized that Mario just doesn't do it for me anymore. I did eventually get it right into it, and I really enjoyed my time with it, and finished it as far as I could, did the Dark Moon stuff, the other ending, if you will.
I like Odyssey, I really do. It's one of those games, though, that I can't just boot up and play because there's so much crap. It's one of those things where I want to start from scratch because I want to know like what I haven't done as I'm doing it. But at the same time, there's so much in that game that I'm exhausted of thought of starting a new game. I'm lucky that I haven't done that yet, because you know how when you go to replay a game, but you get like the first 3 hours and you're just like, I don't want to do this again.
As someone who just replayed Sekiro, no.
Yeah, fair.
Considering I went for the longest ending.
It's always my struggle when I start like an old RPG that I'm nostalgic for. Like those first couple hours, and it's just like, oh, it's gonna be a while before it starts actually like getting good.
Yep, because it's all the training, right? It's just training yourself. Like Final Fantasy games, you go into them, you know what to expect, but the beginning is just like, okay, this rat is attacking me.
I will say that first little while for the Switch, even though there was so little, when you did get stuff, it was super exciting. Like, I think, like, my first couple Switch games is such a random mixed bag of stuff. Like, there was the obvious Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart. You get your staples. But then, I think it's Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, which is, it's a decent enough game. It's definitely, like, just content bloated as shit. Yep. But it's not like, the must-have title is just like, oh, this is something I saw in passing that I wanted to play, and it happens to be on Switch. And then you've got stuff like there was the physical release of Cave Story, which is on the complete other spectrum of never would have crossed my radar, but it's a Switch game. Let's do it.
Yep.
So, and now we're here where there's too many fucking games. games.
Well, this is honestly where started becoming a collector, because I was always on PC. I'd strictly only play PC, and then yeah, Tyler talked me into eventually getting a Switch, or being interested in a Switch. That I went out and got one.
Yep.
And even like with the Switch, I do have a couple like downloaded games, which honestly I haven't actually beat because I've turned into a physical collector. I don't know if it's just because it's cartridges, but
I think that's a big part of it.
like the first download I did, or game I purchased online was Nine Parchments, which is very much like a, if you know Magica or Magica 2, it's a very spellcasty kind of game. That's a co-op, so I was playing that with a friend.
See, one of the first games that I downloaded, which I would later on go to get a physical copy of, was Stardew Valley. And
Actually, you know what? I got that too.
What a great thing to just be like, there's not much on the Switch, but I've heard good things about this. Oh, and for good reason. My God.
So Stardew Valley was one of those games that, like, when it came out on Steam the first time, I think it was like 2 days after it released. It's like, okay, what's the hype about this? And looked into it, and it's like, oh, this reminds me of Harvest Moon. And not that I ever did any good in those games, but I did play the one for PlayStation a while back, like back when it was relevant.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, well, I could be down for this. What not? So I played it, and I fucking fell in love with it.
Stardew's a special game.
When I saw it on Switch, it's like, okay, I gotta get this. So I downloaded, or I bought it digitally, and now I have a physical of it.
Yep.
So I've technically bought it 3 times. Same with Hollow Knight.
So I was gonna say, like, I've always enjoyed indie games. You know, before I got the Switch, I would actually say a good chunk of my gaming, if it wasn't on 3DS, it would have been on Steam. Now, it was for, you know, less intense things, mind you. Like, I was playing stuff like there's the PC port of like Final Fantasy VII.
Yep.
Dabbling in indie titles like, you know, Binding of Isaac, Risk of Rain, Goat Simulator. Nothing like too obscure, but still indie, right?
Yep.
But it definitely would have been the Switch that really made, like, it's an indie powerhouse, and the fact that these games can be indie, which is often looked as a lesser product, but still put as a legitimate product on a physical thing. I think that's just where the love really started.
And you know what? Like, we've have an entire episode about like limited print games, and clearly, like, we're a fan of the physicals and the limited print stuff. Nice thing with like the indie games, most of them are limited print, but they always come with like goodies inside, like the type of thing that you get back when you bought a Super Nintendo game. You got like pamphlets and a manual and
maybe some stickers,
artwork, stickers. Like,
yeah.
Not that I even care about stickers and whatnot. Just interior art and a booklet. Even
just
if
nice.
Even if it's not like an instruction manual or something, just like take the one for Hades. Not that it was limited print, but you open up the booklet and it's just like it has a page for each character and who they are.
Little details like that go a long way with me.
It's just something where, like, if I open up Breath of the Wild and there's nothing on the inside, I'm just like, okay. And, like,
there's nothing
it's not like I'm staring at it or anything. It's something I pick up briefly and look at and then put down.
There's nothing more heartbreaking than, you know, especially from like a big AAA company like Square Enix, they're bad for it, where known for having some of the most beautiful artwork in all of gaming, no interior art, just this complete white void with maybe some like warranty related text.
Yeah.
And some copyrights and stuff. And but I also remember I stopped doing this because this obviously damaging the packaging. But for the longest time, when I would beat a game, I would reverse the artwork to the exterior art and put it back on my shelf.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think it was like Celeste and Turok that ruined that for me because I damaged their holographic spine. I mean, whatever. It's not like I'm selling my games anyway, but at the same time, it was like, maybe I'll just keep them as is and write down if I beat it.
That is one thing I regret with a lot of my PlayStation games. So what I used to do is I took the manual and the CD and I put in a CD booklet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I don't have any of the original cases or anything like that now. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if they got tossed out. I don't know if we lost them during a flood. I don't know where they are. But, like, at the same time, I'm just like, man, I was fucking stupid.
See, I was pretty bad for that, obviously, with like when I was young for like Super Nintendo and stuff.
Yep.
Original Game Boy, but my Game Boy Advance, I started keeping my boxes, and I've actually gone through the lengthy process of like, to the best of my ability, restoring some of these boxes from like being flat from like storage bins and whatnot.
Yep.
And they look a little worse for wear, but they look like boxes. So
that's fair.
yeah, and then obviously we got better. Now we have things like clamshell cases and whatnot. Thank
yes, and
God.
like you never had that issue with Sega with the clamshell cases or PlayStation 2 and onwards, really.
Yep.
I mean, those jewel cases, they're terrible.
Very fragile and explosive.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, back on topic with like the Switch. The Switch just, like you said, it became an indie powerhouse, and admittedly, I can't stand looking at the eShop. It is slow, it is sluggish, and I honestly hate it. I cannot stand that.
The eShop is such a delightful slice of hell. I still, from time to time, I'll boot it up, and because I like checking the coming soon tab, and I'll wish list some things that I'm hoping gets a physical from time to time. It's just a nice little reminder list and a checklist.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter how good your internet is, the Switch eShop will always run like trash.
Same with their little like My Nintendo app.
Yep.
It's
Yep. It's not the greatest. Now, mind you, I don't really give Nintendo a lot of shit because it functions. It's fine. I don't need to push it to the brink by any means. At least NSO functions well.
See, pushing it to the brink isn't even possible because going its normal pace is pushing it to the brink.
Accurate. But, maybe it's just also because we don't really buy digital games, even if they have big sales on stuff. It doesn't. The only time I will buy stuff off of the eShop if it's like a non-physical dirt cheap game that I happen to have like enough like gold coins to just get it for free.
Right.
Other than that, maybe DLC. That's about it.
I was gonna say, because I just bought the DLC on the Switch eShop. I happened to see if it was I just happened to see it was on sale for the Mea Culpa DLC for Blasphemous 2.
The last
sure enough,
time
it was.
I bought DLC on the Switch was when I spent like $30 on a whole bunch of track packs for Theater Rhythm, and it was so worth it.
Actually, you know what? I did that. Actually, about a year ago, I bought a bunch of track packs for Chrono Trigger and Live, and
yeah, I bought like the Chrono Trigger ones, the Mana ones, the Live, and I think a couple other random assorted things.
I think I did the Mana one too.
Yeah. No, and I think it was like around the time when you start buying limited print games, that's where like the poison sets in of physical collecting.
Yes.
And it's when you're actively preventing yourself from playing games because they might get a physical one day, which is fucking Cyber Shadow. How long have we been waiting for that? Like 6 years?
Oh god, yeah.
Now it's finally getting one. So don't give up hope, folks. Yeah, still no Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection though.
But then at the same time, like, so you wishlist things on your Switch, where I use Steam, just because my computer's always it's by my Switch. Like my setup for my computer and my Switch are pretty much the same because my main monitor is a TV.
And also, if it's a big enough title on Steam, it'll probably make its way to Switch.
And that's just it. Like, one example is the last Hero of Nostalgaia. That's been on my wish list for ages now, and now it's getting a physical.
Yep,
for Switch. So I'm excited for that.
I'm looking forward to that mess.
The fact that these indie games are still coming out, like decent indie games for Switch, and still getting physicals, is great. And the physical thing we are stressing quite a bit. I definitely understand that, but as we've mentioned tons of times, collectors. Tyler, how many Switch games are you up to?
202, not including duplicates.
Does that include your pre-orders?
No. If we talk about my pre-orders, there's not too many out right now, but I think I'd be like, 205, 206, something like that. And yeah. The exciting thing is, like, this is what I like about being in the twilight years of a console, because it's obvious that we are, is this is when you start getting the weird shit. This is when, like, your Shantaes and shit like that people always kick themselves for not getting come out.
Yep.
So, but moreover than that, where's my fucking send-off Kirby game.
So, if you don't understand that, like, every console has pretty much died with Kirby.
He is the herald of death.
Or the god of death, one of the two.
He's just the best. I know that there's been like murmurs of a Planet Robobot remake or something, which I would happily welcome. Just something. I just want to see him again. You know, doesn't need to be a big grand epic like Forgotten Land. Although I do want another 3D Kirby.
Oh, absolutely! That was great.
I think for the most part, and I'm super okay with this. It looks like a lot of the more notable things to look forward to are going to be, old ports or collections, which never a disappointment.
No, I'm all down for the collections, especially in the style that they've been coming out. Like Konami has been, granted, I don't know how the Metal Gear Solid 1 came out, but they seem to be pretty damn solid for like the Castlevanias and it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was Konami, right?
Yep.
So those, the Mega Man collections, Capcom needs to do a better job of actually putting everything on cart, because like
they have been actually.
Have
so
they?
The last one that they kind of dropped the ball with was the Mega Man X Legacy Collection, because they split that up into two as well.
Yes, one's a download, one's a on cart.
There was the Mega Man Zero Collection, which is a total of 6 games, and if they split that one up, it would just make no sense.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a whole lot on it. And yet, also you have the Mega Man Battle Network Collection, which, oh god, when you're talking about the different versions, there's 11 games on it.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that is digitally, you can buy them separately, so you can get them cheaper, and you'll still get the core 6 games. It's just the one has one version, so the other one has the other ones, right?
Right.
Your Pokemon Red versus your Blue. But if you bought the physical, all 11 games are all on the cartridge, which that's the shit you need to do, Capcom. God damn.
Yeah. Because, like, I would have loved to get the Resident Evil 1 and 2, or, not 1 and 2, 1 and 0 collection.
There was 1 and 0, and then there was also
4, 5, and 6.
4, was it 6 as well? Okay, so yeah. And
but
that one had 4 on the cart, and 1 and 0 have 0 on the cart.
Yeah. So it didn't even have the better one on the cart.
No. But the thing that's unfortunate about that is because, okay, so I can actually understand why companies were doing that at first, because the Switch wasn't really capable of it, and if they wanted to make a collection, I think they would actually have to make just one full program that had both games in it, right? Effort. They should put in effort. I get it.
Yes.
And then it was like 3 years into the Switch's lifespan that it got an update that you could actually have multiple games on a cart.
It's hilarious plugging in or putting in the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters.
Oh my
and just
God,
your
fills
screen gets full.
Yeah.
Because each one is individual. You can buy them each individually, and holy shit.
But God, isn't it so satisfying as well? Just all the classic Final Fantasies, just there you go. And what's unfortunate about that is they didn't re-release these games to have them all on the cart.
No.
Like, it would have been a no-brainer.
There's a reason I went with the PlayStation version for the Resident Evil Origins.
Yeah.
With 1 and 0. It's just because they're both on disc.
Well, and that's the same with, so there's the Metal Gear Solid Collection for Switch. I don't know which ones are download and which one are on the cart, but I know it's incomplete. And at this point, I get super apprehensive because we've come so much further, right?
Yes. One of them that was like that, the Spyro trilogy, Reignited trilogy.
Wasn't Insane Trilogy also like that?
I don't remember. I haven't actually plugged mine in because I started on PC and I did 1 and 2 on PC and then just haven't gone back to 3 or 4. But yeah, the Reignited trilogy, they had half of each game on there, but not playable without a download.
I think it's funny how this has become like an episode about physical games. We're still talking about the Switch, folks. Don't worry. It's
it's true.
But I think this is just part of the fact that, like, one of the reasons we love the Switch so much is because it is such a physical media powerhouse these days.
If we really want to save this being about the Switch, this is a wish list for the Switch 2.
You want to know what was a really dumb trend that at least I first started noticing in the Switch? I'm sure it existed prior, but physical copies that are just download codes in an empty box.
Yes, that's
Why?
Oh my god.
Why is that a thing?
LA Noir. I would have loved that. But when you're a
Yep.
download code in a box, and now
Yep.
here's the thing that I never understood, and this is like, yeah, this is actually about physical games. Whoops. Use copies of games with just a download code in a box. What the
How's
hell
that
am
possible?
I buying?
Yep. Yep. Or like, you know, you're getting ripped off if you're buying a physical copy of the Mega Man or Mega Man X Legacy Collection because that
Yes.
code's been used. You're only getting now. At least with the X Collection, you're getting the best ones. But
Yeah. That's
same,
fair, but still.
you want them all. So Yeah.
What were some of the hiccups that the Switch actually dealt with? Joy-Con drift.
So Joy-Con drift was definitely a big issue. Another one was the fact that in the first 2 years of its lifespan, before Switch Online was actually established, online was free and capable, and then you had to have a subscription service. And I know everyone has a subscription service, and it's very, very reasonable, but it's still a kick in the dick when you've been playing online for free up until that point.
Okay,
And then they restructure it.
At the same time, they said right off the hop that it will be paid and it's only going to be free for so long.
Of course.
So I get it, but at the same time, they did give a fair warning.
I'd rather pay no money than some money.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
that said, fast forward to now, and I pay the money not even to play online. So
Yes, it's more for the retro stuff, which it's hilarious because like how often do you actually dive into the retro stuff online? Like we have an entire episode about it. I dive into it once in a while, absolutely, and I got all the controllers that they released. Oh, that's
I did
another
just
thing.
before we hopped on.
The retro controllers that they released. The
Yep.
the NES, the Super Nintendo, the N64, and the Sega one. I have them all. And they are wonderful. The only thing I have a problem with is the NES controllers do not have a USB-C plug-in on them. You have to charge them on the Joy-Con thing.
So actually, this is a funny point that was made, and this kind of leads into the Switch 2 stuff a little bit. But you know how when they announced the NES World Championship Edition,
Yep.
they also announced a little charging dock for your Joy-Cons. Which, like, okay, no one needed this, but I guess it's, you know, a nice feature, and it's just like, oh, well, you know, you can charge your NES Joy-Cons on there, because no one wants to, like, keep them plugged into their Switch, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually makes sense that was also kind of like a cheeky little tease for the Switch 2, because where are you going to... Okay, so the Switch 2 Joy-Cons are different from the regular Joy-Cons, clearly.
Yes.
And so there's some functionality that'll be missing. A big thing that the Switch 2 Joy-Cons don't have is the IR camera on it. Or, yes. So, you know, if you need your Joy-Cons for your old game, just pop them on the Switch dock or the Joy-Con charger. Because there wasn't a product anyone really needed before, right?
Nope, that's true, because it's a different connector.
And I don't see... I'll get into the controller talk in a bit, but I don't see them not letting you use the Joy-Cons from the Switch on the Switch 2.
Yeah.
So, but going back to, the classic controllers, what an unnecessary thing to give us that's so great. And even, like, it started with, like, the GameCube controllers, and they're like, oh, it's just for Smash Bros. But, you know, if we put out some more GameCube games, they might happen to work.
So, with the classical controllers, you say it's unnecessary. I would beg to differ when it comes to the N64 games.
Accurate.
Going from Joy-Con or the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, which is my preferred method of playing games on the Switch, because I hate the Joy-Cons. I hate them with the passion. N64 games are just made for that abomination of a controller.
I think the only N64 game on Switch Online that I've really played has been Pokemon Stadium, because it doesn't really rely on the N64
okay,
button scheme.
You could say that like Paper Mario for N64 doesn't require the N64 controller. I
It'll
beg to
feel
differ.
better.
That was so. It was such a game changer, and it's
I could
just
see
one of those
Paper
things.
Mario needing the N64 controller because there's a fair bit of platforming in that. As where, at least with Pokemon Stadium, unless you're doing the mini games, you probably want the controller for the mini games. But for just the core gameplay, it's just menus, right?
Right.
So the only thing you have to remember, because the thing that sucks about using the Joy-Cons for the N64 Online is the C buttons are just your right analog stick, and that thing is so fucking touchy compared to the just big clicky yellow buttons of the N64 controller.
Yeah.
So, it does feel nice as a camera in Zelda up until you try to use the rest of the buttons. Then it's god awful.
So, Joy-Cons were terrible. I think we both are on the same page for that.
I'm not crazy about them, but I don't think I have as much ire for them as you do.
Just, they do not feel good in my hands, and it's one of the main reasons I don't use my Switch portably in the first place. Unless it's a scenario that I absolutely have to. Like, if I'm using any kind of like my machinery outside in the shed and whatnot, then yeah, I'm waiting on something, but I have to be close by. I'll bring my Switch out and fucking play an indie game or something. But
I think it's funny.
Don't care for them.
I've kind of 180'd on that because when I first got the Switch, I was more primarily a handheld gamer because I was playing a lot of 3DS, and I think it was when I was first playing through Hollow Knight, and that was around the time I got my Pro controller, and I was like, oh my god, what have I been missing with like just chill out console gaming?
Mm-hmm.
And now, since I got my OLED, I've actually been playing it a lot more in handheld, but I've been playing a lot slower, less
action-oriented games.
You know, I don't need as much dexterity for some of these games. Mega Man notwithstanding, it's fucking god awful to play with the Joy-Cons, but it is playable with the Joy-Cons.
Right.
So, but
and I think they should have had
like
Joy-Cons that had a D-pad, not just leave it for the Switch Lite.
The Switch Lite feels so good. It's too bad I never use it. Yeah, the Joy-Cons they're serviceable. That would be the best way I can put it. And I also love the fact that, like, you know, they can function as Wiimotes if need be, which makes sense being the predecessor of the Wii, although we didn't get a whole lot of Wii stuff on the Switch to my knowledge.
I'm okay with that because I still haven't played Mario Galaxy. I tried it on the 3D All-Stars. I gave up pretty quick.
See, I wanted to do it with the Pro controller, and then when I realized the gyroscope functioned as my pointer on the Pro controller, like, this doesn't work. I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I'll have to actually like play it with, you know, one Joy-Con in each hand and play it the way that nature intended. And I would like to one day, but until that day, I'm in no rush.
So drifting was a big issue. We've mentioned that. What about disconnects? Anytime that you use your Joy-Cons, do you use it attached to the console or no?
Yes.
Okay. So before I got a Pro controller, I used to use the little like plastic thing that they came with, and you slide the Joy-Cons into, so it's like a controller.
Yep.
The right one would disconnect all the time.
You know what? I've never had that issue, but I do know that is a rather common issue people have had.
Yes. So that's been a thing since the very beginning. So
I got rid of my original set of Joy-Cons because the drift was so bad.
Yeah, it's clearly something that affected a lot of people.
Yeah.
Obviously, like we all know about Joy-Con drift.
Yeah.
So, hopefully drifting is, I mean, any joystick, let's get this out of the way. Any joystick on any controller can experience drift. If you don't believe me, look at the N64 joysticks. Yes, they are more analog than digital, like the ones that we have now, but they would get so loose that they'd stop, like, just functioning.
Yep. Very
Very
flaccid C-stick.
Yep.
Fuck.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
but I didn't.
So hopefully that is rectified. The issues that they had with the Switch version anyways.
Another issue that I'm paranoid about that I don't think I've actually experienced on my Switch, but I definitely experienced on like every DS that I've ever had is something like my A button sinking into the console because I push it so much. Oh my god, it's dreadful. I remember like when I was like, oof, I don't know, like 17 or something, and I was playing a game at my buddy's house, and I handed it over to him to try it out. And he just goes, "Your A button makes me sad." It's just, and if you looked at it like at a level, all the other buttons were at their proper height, and it was like it looked like a sunken ship.
Yeah, that could happen.
But fortunately, I so as much as I hate the Joy-Cons, I do think that they are neat. Like, as little as it is implemented, HD Rumble is fucking cool.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, I do think PlayStation 5 kind of has a beat now with its
Another thing,
triggers and its HD Rumble. And if you need proof of that, like someone who actually uses that, is look at it, the Astro's Playroom or Astrobot.
Oh, DualSense is an incredible controller. I'm not about to compare it to that.
Yeah.
But something I also, it's very rare case that this is what the Joy-Cons are capable of. But when I was playing Earthbound, because I discovered that the L button is pretty much the everything button in that game.
Yep.
And so I could just chill out and play it with one hand and just like remove the one Joy-Con and just chill out and do everything with my left hand. And that was pretty sweet.
Yes. That is,
that's a rare case though.
Yes, absolutely. Do Donkey Kong with one joystick on.
Oh, see, and then you
could, because you could turn them sideways.
Yeah, but oh my god, I hate playing with the sideways, especially because they're not symmetrical. Like, when you get the one, if you're player 2 and you've got the Joy-Con where the joystick is in the middle of the fucking thing, like, it's the most uncomfortable shit ever.
Yes. You're playing multiplayer games and using the Joy-Cons on its side, and they have other ones that they could give you instead. It's clear they hate you.
Yeah. That's the Mad Catz controller.
Bad Friends 101.
Yeah.
The Pro Controller.
Pro Controller is great.
Pro Controller is fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've had like no issues with my Pro Controller aside from the collection of mana thing. They added no dead zone to it, so I kept going down randomly. So there is clearly a little bit of a drift, but that's more from usage, not.
So my issue with the Pro Controller is I mainly got it because it has a D-pad.
Yep.
And the D-pad on it's not my favorite. I find that if I press left or right, but a little bit too hard downward on it, it'll also trigger down a lot of the times. So if I'm playing like, let's say, I don't know, like an old Mario game or something, you'll be jumping and then it'll kind of detect that little tap of downwards. I think I noticed this when I was playing Mario Maker 2, and then you do the drop. And
yes, so I noticed that doing Blasphemous, doing the Miriam trials.
The pogo jumps?
Yes, and that's why I stopped. That is one part in Blasphemous that I will never actually complete. Because that
took some finesse, but I did get the pogo jumps down, but it is rough with the Pro Controller. But that's where the Super Nintendo controller comes in, because that thing controls like a dream.
Yes. But with the Pro Controller, the whole fact that like Nintendo took this opportunity to like really thrive, and clearly they have from their bumbling of the Wii U. But they knew they had something good. They knew they had something great. And just a little hidden message that's inside the Pro Controllers. It's thanks to all gamers, I think it says.
There's a hidden message in the Pro Controller?
Did you not know this?
No.
Yeah, so you have to tilt the right analog stick down and look above it. You might need like a flashlight with your camera, but if you look through like the little ring, you can actually see it. It's printed right on the circuit board. And it's
interesting.
THX thanks to the number 2, and then underneath all gamers.
Huh. I'm gonna have to.
You know what? I'm gonna look at mine right now because I got it right here.
Yeah.
A little bit of finesse. Thanks to all game fans, maybe.
All the same, that's a quaint little Easter egg.
Yeah, all game fans. So yeah, little neat.
Mm-hmm.
They clearly had passion when they were designing the console. So hopefully the same could be said with the Switch 2. And so we don't know much on the Switch 2. We've seen little things, little rumors. We've heard rumors for years, but who actually knows what's true, what's false? Nintendo released I want to say like beginning of February or end of January, like a teaser for a direct for the Switch 2.
January 16th?
Was it January 16th?
I believe so, yeah. Because
So-
I've got the teaser up right here.
Right.
And it's a Switch.
Yeah, so it looks fairly identical, but there's clearly some differences. Let's get a few things out of the way first. It's supposed to be compatible with most Switch 1 games and physicals.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there is an asterisk beside that, and that could be one of two things. There's some things that maybe games aren't updated to work with the Switch 2. Companies may have to release an update that makes them compatible on Switch 2, or they're just covering their asses.
I think they're more so just covering their asses, because when it comes to that asterisk, if it has, just similar software as the Switch, I don't know if they'll do the thing that the Wii U did, where it basically had the Wii's operating system built into it, and then when you put in like a Wii game, it would like boot up the Wii interface, as opposed to it would, instead of being the Switch 2, you'd pop it in and you'd get Switch stuff. But I feel like it'll probably just be integrated as is. It'll probably look damn near the same as the Switch.
I imagine so. I wonder if they'll finally do themes.
I want to say that the asterisk is more so, think of stuff like Labo, where these are things that are developed with the original Switch's
Ring
screen
Fit
size
Adventure,
in mind, right? So I think something like Ring Fit Adventure could work.
But you attach your Joy-Con into that, and since the Joy-Cons are different...
Yes, however, this is where I was saying the whole like charging stand for your original Joy-Cons.
Yes.
If you just pair your OG Joy-Cons to the Switch 2, then you can play something like Ring Fit Adventure.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if damn near everything functions. It's just their way of being like, it might not work as intended. So...
yeah,
just be mindful of that.
It's hard to say at this time, right? So
yeah.
But overall, just what they've shown, it looks a little bigger. It's clearly has sticking with the USB-C charging port and dock. Joy-Cons look bigger. Lengthwise, anyways.
They look a little bit more rounder too.
They do.
They look like they'd fit a little better in the hand.
I hope so. I hope they are a bit thicker. It's no longer the slide connect, it's like a magnet connect. So I don't know how that's actually going to work with holding on, because they didn't really show any kind of like quick release like the Joy-Cons have, where the Joy-Cons have got the buttons on the back. I would assume that there's something like that, because if it's just magnetic and you're hanging onto it and you turn too quick, right when it comes off, Switch hits the ground.
So I'm wondering, actually, so there was something I noticed when I was watching the trailer, when the Switch is showing the back of the console. You have your R1 and R2 triggers, but then you also have these like little shoulder buttons tucked behind your R2 and L2.
Okay.
And those aren't present on the original Switch. So those could be your release mechanisms that you were talking about. It could also be a third trigger button, which, if so, is kind of nuts.
Like, what would they do? Okay, so yeah, they are a little bit wider, too.
So, because if I'm not mistaken, you can get, like, some of those, like, super professional controllers that have the paddles on the very back, which I think is the gaudiest shit ever.
Oh, absolutely.
But, I mean, if it's adding extra capability to your gameplay, then have at her. But I can see just kind of, like, how they're positioned. Those could be your release mechanisms.
Yep.
You just kind of hug around the back of it and just pull. So, and I know a lot of people are thinking, because like the magnetic connectors, instead of being like the slide, they just kind of slap on, and they've got just basically what looks like, not quite like a USB-C, but just a little male to female interconnect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are saying that's like, a big design flaw. That thing will break in no time. And I really don't think that's a concern.
It could be. I mean, the one with the Switch 1, you'd be amazed how many people broke them.
That is very true, but I feel like this thing will at least be flush with the design of the side of the Switch. So like, it's not like it's catching on anything. And I mean, if it's supposed to be super satisfying to get on there, it's not like you're going to be fiddling with it to line it up. It'll just all fit nicely into place.
All I'm saying is the average consumer, let's take away like people like us, and I'm just going to say on a hopeful means, the listeners of this podcast, people aren't like us, and they are very rough with their stuff. So,
well, and you also have to think kids, right?
Yep,
like I have
kids.
seen a charging port with some kind of anonymous food item shoved into it. So,
their nose was full.
It's fine because this has 2 charging ports on it.
Yes.
Which is weird, but kind of neat.
So I kind of wonder if they're planning... Okay, back to the controller thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think most people are going to be stupid with them. Look at the Wii. People tossing their remotes at a TV instead of being able to hang on to something. Come on.
Yep. Use the wrist strap.
Yeah, but you shouldn't even have to be told to use a wrist strap.
You got to attach your mittens to your jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, people are going to be stupid, and they're going to be like, "Oh, design flaw," and it's like, no, you're just an idiot.
Yep.
Yeah. So with the second, you called it a charging port. We don't actually know if it's a charging port, but maybe it is, and that might be something that they're like, "Oh, yeah, this was a design flaw of the first one," because if you're charging it, playing it handheld, or have it on its dock charging, or not on the dock charging, but with the kickstand charging, you can't have it plugged in. So it could be a charging port, because there's clearly the one that the dock's going to plug into in the bottom, and it shows that in the first look trailer. And then there's one on top, and it's kind of off to the side. It looks like it's going to be near where the cartridge port is, but I'm also wondering if that could be used for accessories.
Wonder if I can put my Joy-Cons on it upside down.
Or backwards.
And that's solely the reason why they put them on backwards. I want to play this game looking at the back of the console. It's an extra challenge run.
You can't even make fun of that because there's blindfold runs.
Yeah, this is true.
But
we'll
so
Mike Tyson that way.
I'm kind of wondering if they're going to make accessories for the USB-C port, and like the expansion packs we've had on so many things, which kind of goes back to a theory that you and me were talking about before. Like, how would they do DS games? Well, I wonder if they add like a little touchscreen that'll mount to the top or bottom.
That sounds cumbersome and god-awful, and I would buy it day one.
Yeah, but if they have like proper clips and it's not like huge or anything, I'm not talking about something that's the entire screen on the bottom, but just something small, or whether it's a touchpad or something.
Well,
so
I mean,
they could do DS games or virtual console.
Yeah, the
or whatever.
Switch itself is a touchscreen, right? So I would imagine the Switch 2 will also be a touchscreen.
I would imagine so. Now, the reason I said touchpad, for like a second screen or something, because it seems to be confirmed through patents and stuff that people have pulled up, and by the first look trailer, it looks like the Joy-Cons could be used like a mouse, which is very strange. And I don't think the only reason would be to bring Mario Paint to the Switch Online.
No, but if they don't do that, they are just
if this is the case,
opportunity.
If this is the case, if they actually can be used like mice or mace, whatever, like that would open up a whole lot of different things that you could do.
It would also be cool if we got a Switch 2 exclusive and they came out with Super Mario Paint. And it's just Mario Paint with a little bit more, it's got more color or something. I don't know.
It wouldn't be based around Mario though, because that they don't do that too much anymore. So it would be called Switch 2 Paint.
Switch Up Paint.
Switch 2
Switch Paints.
Switch,
I don't.
I think Switch
2
to Paint
actually sounds good. Yeah.
Switch to Paint. Yeah, I could see them doing that.
But I think also with the mouse, it opens the opportunity to, let's say, instead of porting something like Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass, which heavily required the touchscreen to play, they just remake it, but instead of the touchscreen, it's all just mouse support now.
Yeah. Or
things like that.
And we're forgetting the most important thing that this could open up the opportunities to, because it's on the Switch 1. Factorio is on the Switch.
Oh no.
Factorio with mouse support on the Switch would be fantastic.
Yeah, that would just
I'm getting
complete the
too
whole
excited
package for you.
Fuck yeah.
Then you could buy it again and play it again.
Sadly, that if it, you know what, if it came out with a physical, I would absolutely buy it again. I know it will never.
You know, it'd be so cool. Is this opens up the doors to, I know they've ported quite a few to the Switch, but like classic PC point and click games.
Yep.
Ooh, if they give the Myst port mouse support, I will gladly play that again.
Fuck. You know what? This just opens up a whole other thing. What if on the Switch Online, where it has all these retro games and stuff, they do like almost like a DOS box thing?
I was just gonna say putting DOSBox on the Switch.
Yeah. Or like something for like those old, like the original StarCraft or fucking Diablos and all those like original PC games from back in the day.
I do hope at the very least, just now that you mentioned StarCraft, I do hope like mouse support-esque games for previous consoles make their way to Switch. Like, you know, the aforementioned Mario Paint. If they were to do like Super Scope games, I mean, it's basically cheating playing those with a mouse, but if it gives me a way to play them, like, you know, Yoshi's Safari.
I mean, if it's on Switch Online, who cares?
Yep.
Or maybe there is some kind of IR thing that you could do with the screen.
Give me a Switch Super Scope.
It would just be like a holder for the Joy-Con, and it would be like a handgun.
Yep.
They could do it. They could.
Oh, they absolutely had plenty of those for the Wii.
Yeah. Why didn't we see that with the Switch, aside from Labo?
I feel like it does exist, but
that's going to be Labo 2.0 Yoshi Safari Edition.
They just make the Super Scope. I would actually buy that.
So would I. That might actually get me to buy a Labo.
Yeah. I was contemplating the robot suit, but unless the game it came with was very like one and done, and, you know, like I have Lego sets that I have a long enough time contemplating building, let alone this big cardboard jumpsuit to use once.
And I feel like you get more satisfaction out of the Lego.
I do indeed.
Yeah, so mouse support seems to be a thing. That would be good for like your simulation games too.
Yep.
Although
I mean, they just got
I don't imagine
Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon, the original, like the classic.
Put
that's
on, like,
getting
Sims
a physical
2 or something.
The Swims, the Sims.
The Swims.
But like Civilization.
Yeah,
they just came out with a new Civilization game that just came out. Your Planet Coasters and your City Skylines 2 just came out. There's a lot of things that could be actually really useful for.
Oh my god, cannon fodder.
Yep.
No one cares but me, but still, that doesn't mean I don't care a lot.
Well, like, there's a lot of things that you could do with, like, one Joy-Con in one hand and a mouse in the other.
Yep.
Right?
Or, here's a wacky gameplay gimmick. Dual mice. You can do it. They both do it. That'd be some WarioWare shit right there.
Actually, I was thinking 007. Because if you plug, like, two controllers in, you can make it so both joysticks work.
Oh, but then you got the triggers on the back.
Yeah.
That's just cool.
Yeah.
So, what do you think when it comes to the Switch 2? What do you think we can expect in the world of games? Because we know Nintendo, they're usually, like, pretty behind the curve. Like, this is probably going to function along the lines of, like, a PS4 Pro, maybe some of the low-end PS5 stuff.
Yep. So there's been rumors, and if it's true, I mean, that's pretty damn neat, but the rumors of Elden Ring being on the Switch 2.
Elden Ring on the Switch 2 would be damn cool.
It really would be. Which hopefully that opens up the way to, like, Dark Souls, the other Dark Souls, not just Dark Souls Remastered. Like, we don't even know hardware specs. Like,
nope.
Just for clarity, now that we're an hour and 17 minutes into the episode, we're obviously recording this before any kind of news has been out. The only thing that's been out is the first look trailer. So we know nothing. This is definitely a predictions episode. We are excited for April 2nd to actually see what kind of stuff they got. But yeah, Elden Ring is rumored. I know Phil Spencer has confirmed that Switch 2 will get Xbox games, so who knows what we're going to see there.
We're getting Skyrim again, folks.
More than likely, Todd Howard's going to be like, buy Skyrim.
Yeah. Or Starfield.
Oh fuck yeah, we could probably see Starfield. It can flop on that
Yeah.
too.
Yep. So we already know that there is a new Mario Kart on the horizon.
Yes.
Because they had a teaser for that in the Switch 2 teaser. And I mean it looks like Mario Kart.
Yep.
It's not like I can't get like super hyped for Mario Kart. It's one of those things that I just know is gonna be good. I'm not gonna be wowed by any like wacky new features. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna play it. It's gonna be fun.
It's funny that you have more Switch games than I do, of course. But like I'm not that far away from you. I'm at like 176 or something.
You're not far behind, that's for sure.
I do not own Mario Kart.
You know, it's funny actually. I've been thinking about buying it again because they have versions of it now that have all of the DLC on the cart.
Yes.
But
yes, new Mario Kart.
Not a priority.
Mario Kart 9. People have been wanting it for a long time. They'd be kind of silly not to. It can't be 8 again, right?
No.
Okay.
No, you can tell just by looking at the trailer. Like, this is all new stuff that is being used in it. And
they're going to start going backwards. It's actually 7 remastered.
Honestly, that'd be pretty cool because Mario Kart 7 was great. Mario 7 Deluxe, Lucky Sevens.
Yeah.
Mario drives. But other than that, and now, okay, so the long-awaited Metroid Prime 4.
Yep.
I think it's probably going to be like a Breath of the Wild situation where it's a dual release.
Oh, chances are. And I think they'd be kind of silly not to be honest.
I feel like to say it's on the console that's not out yet would just be a huge slap to the face to all the people who have been waiting so long for this game.
Yes.
But it would also give people a reason to adopt a Switch 2 if it's like, hey, if you want it, but maybe there's like, you know, some improved graphical fidelity or something, you can get it for Switch 2.
I think granted, this isn't more in the Metroid Prime stuff. They remastered Metroid Prime, and they did a wonderful job on it. If they came out with 2 and 3 remastered, and then put 4 on the Switch 2,
yep,
or anything really, like if they put Prime 2 and 3 on the Switch 2, they broke up the market again, like they did with the originals. But at least Metroid Prime could be played on the Switch 2 because it's physical compatible and download compatible or digital compatible.
Well, and that's why it doesn't sting so bad, right?
No.
It's not like a Final Fantasy VII Remake Rebirth situation where like, wait, did Rebirth come out for PS4?
No.
No. So, yeah, it's like you want to play it and we know you want to, you have to buy a whole new console.
Yes.
So,
but
I'm also wondering, like, so third-party support for Nintendo is significantly better now than it was at the launch of the Switch.
Oh, absolutely, because people realize that it's actually, or companies realize that they don't have to deal with waggle controls or stupid little screens or anything. They can just make a game, none of this extra shit,
and it sells.
It sells absolutely does because it's easy.
Yep.
Companies don't want to make exclusives.
No.
For someone else's system. Some do.
Yeah,
well, they may want to, but they don't want to themselves. But then sometimes they have to. Look at Silent Hill 2. Granted, that came out on PC and PlayStation.
People want their games played.
But developers, they want to be able to sell it to the majority of the markets that they can. And if you have to create an entire different control scheme based on waggle controls and touchscreens and all that kind of shit, they aren't going to bother. They aren't going to put that much more effort into a system that's not going to sell as much. And that was one of the big issues with third parties and the Wii and the Wii U.
One thing that I am a little apprehensive about and I think this is just my thoughts on the state of gaming as a whole, is I'm worried the Switch 2 is going to be kind of like a PS5 situation where we're, 4 or 5 years into the life of the PS5? And a lot of PS5 games are still PS4 games, right?
Yes.
So I wouldn't be surprised if for the first couple of years we see a lot of that. There won't be too much in the ways of Switch 2 exclusivity.
So depending on how companies go about it. And the reason I was saying this, I was talking with a buddy of mine last night when I started up Kena Bridge of Spirits. You are not getting that quality on PS4. But there
No.
is a PS4 version of it.
Yeah.
You are not getting that quality. They did a tremendous job with making it look as crystal clear and pretty as they can. So to get that kind of quality on PS4, they really dumbed it down. It would be like going from a PS5 game to the Switch now. Right? So if it's something like that, then fine.
It's validated.
Fine. As long as it's just not, okay, do what Xbox did and say, okay, but your Xbox Series X game has to run on the S, even though it's a less superior console.
Gonna port up.
Yes.
No, that's the thing. A lot of the more exclusive, quote unquote, for Switch 2 games are going to be like your PS4 games that run more like they would on that console than, like, you know, for example, the Nier Automata port, which is an amazing port of that game, but it's still not up to the standards of the PlayStation, right?
No.
So I feel like we'll be actually getting closer to closing that cap, and they'll just say this wouldn't function on the Switch, so it's only going to be on the Switch 2.
Yeah.
Like something like Elden Ring.
Oh, yeah. More actual Switch 2 exclusives.
Yep.
Is going to make this system sell. And that's
something that I would also...
That's what I'm going to be looking for. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way and just buy one right off the hop. I want to see what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And they got to sell me on it. Like, okay, the Joy-Cons could be work like a mouse. What's it going to be used for? Is there any reason to actually get excited for it?
Oh my god, I just thought of something that would be so great if they function like a mouse. And I know you haven't played Tears of the Kingdom yet, but I'm sure you know about the feature, the Ultra Hand, which, you know, works like magnesis. But having more precision with that with the mouse, that would be nice.
What if that was their deciding factor? They're like, okay, this needs to be a mouse.
It could be, because that was their biggest game, and I don't think it did as well as they wanted it to. Oh, that also reminds me. I am more or less predicting that the baseline for new games is going to be, at least for us in Canada, just $90. That's just what Switch games are going to cost now.
Yep.
I think we'll still see that range like we do now, like cheaper games like the Yu-Gi-Oh collection I just got, I think it was like $50. There'll still be that
60 or 50 or something like that. Yeah.
But your standard, you know, your new Mario, your new Splatoon, your new Zelda, it's just $90 is going to be the flat price now.
Yes.
And as much as that would suck, it's kind of how it's going now. So, and I'm sure Tears of the Kingdom was like a test of the water of like, are people still going to spend this much?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And people put up a fight about it. And rightfully so, because they're mid-generation.
Yep.
Like,
as where
for that shit. And
doing it with a newer console, it's a little easier to justify.
And your games do not go on sale physically, like ever. The fact that Sword and Shield versions of Pokemon are still $80 Canadian.
Yeah. Give it time, they'll be worth more than that. Pokemon always does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or Mirror Odyssey still $80.
Yep. Yep. You have the odd sale. I think that they just put the Mario games on sale for Mario Day, which as of recording this is very soon.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're not just dropping the price on them for no reason.
So, what else do you think the Switch 2 is going to have? Oh, one thing they did say is your Switch Online membership will carry over.
Which, thank God, be used, because it just started getting good.
Well, let's hang on to that, because they did not confirm whether or not everything that's on there now is going to be on the Switch 2. They just said your Switch Online membership will work on both.
Now, I mean, I guess that's not a concern for me. It's not like I'm throwing out my Switches as soon as I get my Switch 2.
Yes.
But I feel like the NSO applications will work on the Switch 2, because that's all they are just applications, right?
I would imagine so.
Yeah, I look at it as, again, with the Wii operating system and stuff, it's like how the 3DS, you were able to download DSiWare off the eShop.
Yep.
This stuff, it still works.
I imagine it'll still be there.
I can only hope.
If it's not, I swear to God.
But as far as like features and things like that, or things that I would like to see, you know, there's not much I can really add. It feels so close to the Switch that it's hard for me to want more.
Yeah, they definitely said don't iterate on what's not broken, right? They just wanted to increase it a bit. So it's
what I would like to see, and this is a bit of a pipe dream, I'm aware. Like you were saying, like that second accessory that's like a second screen for it.
Yep.
I would rather if the dock itself had some degree of functionality to the point where it almost services to function like a Wii U, where you can be on the TV on your Switch while you're using it in handheld.
Right.
That would be really cool, especially too if that ends up being the gateway to either Wii U ports, like true Wii U ports, not like how most of the Switch got.
Yeah.
Or things like DS, or even just creative new games. Because I think dual screen, it's incredibly niche, but when you can do cool shit with it, damn, it's cool.
I feel like there's a library of things that people want to check out but can't because it's not accessible.
I want the Lost in Blue trilogy on my TV. Give me that collection, Capcom. I want kids starving on an island. Give me the Game Boy ones, too.
Well, Tyler's lost the plot, folks.
Yep. So, but I don't know. I think... All right, so... Unless you have any more speculative on the console itself, we could close this up on what are some things from Nintendo we want to see on this console. Do you think F-Zero's coming back
with the mouse? You got to use the mouse to drive.
Weird. Yeah.
We are attaching drifting mechanics to F-Zero with the Joy-Cons.
That'd be kind of cool. You just kind of pick it up and tilt it like you're playing with like Hot Wheels or something. Yep. Oh my god. There's a Hot Wheels game where you could just like put the shell of a car around your Joy-Con and just drive it around your table. Like, oh man. The fun that could be had.
It's going to be a Labo thing. I wonder why if they did the whole mouse thing, if it's even true, just for Labo stuff.
That would be interesting. You know what would be really wild? That I feel like they were so close with the Switch, but they just didn't go far enough with it. What if they tried to break into the VR market?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I know that there was the Labo VR, but that was no different than those, like, cardboard holders, especially because it was cardboard, that you could just slot your phone in, that I'm pretty sure mostly people just use for VR porn.
Yeah.
But... they basically did that, and the worst uses too. Like, it's like, hey, play Breath of the Wild or Smash Bros in VR. It's like, you're not in VR. You're just holding the thing to your face.
Because there was no strap even.
No, it's you get like kind of a neat POV. Like, hey, it's like Link and Cloud are fighting like 5 feet away from me. Boy, am I nauseous. But if they actually implemented like something not unlike the PSVR, where got a whole unit, you could use your Joy-Cons as your VR sensors. They got half of it there.
I don't know if they'd actually go that far or not.
It seems like a big gamble because VR is still so new, right?
Yes.
It's probably been the slowest new gaming medium. I know it's growing, but still not mainstream in convention yet.
No, not by any means. Things I'd like to see with it is them expand the online service. I want it to be better. I want the shop to actually function without waiting ages.
I want a new shop. Yeah.
Like, have functional friend usernames instead of friend codes. Playtime recordings that don't actually take over 10 days to actually calculate.
Yep. And being able to record for more than 30 seconds.
Yeah, bigger size hard drives and stuff, obviously.
It'd be nice, too, if they started implementing things like, like screen sharing and some of the just drop-in, drop-out gameplay that things like PlayStation and PC have gotten a lot better with.
Yes. No, absolutely. And even Xbox, from my understanding. Like, they have a lot of catch-up to do with the social aspect of their stuff.
That is, oh, boy, do they ever.
So, they are very lackluster on anything online. Like, you try to play the Smash Bros. Online, and 9 out of 10 times you're going to be stuttery.
Yeah.
So I want to see them actually do a good overhaul of their online services. And their social services. I want to see them improve the online libraries. I want to see more stuff come out and new consoles. Granted, we have a lot of stuff on there as is, but
I would like to see them expand in the non-Nintendo sense again. Like, we've got Sega Genesis, but if we were to get, like, say, Sega Saturn, Dreamcast. Yep, TurboGrafx, Neo Geo, and I know a lot of these games are available in their own fashion on the eShop. Like there's the arcade classics and stuff like that.
But where else are you gonna play Enter the Seaman?
Enter Seaman. Wasn't that like Leonard Nimoy or something?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, what a bizarre thing. But then we could get stuff like, like Sonic Adventure and things like that.
Absolutely.
Even if they just want to port it as the GameCube version. What have you. And give me that long requested Virtual Boy collection.
Yes.
I want to play Teleroboxer and Jack Bros.
I just want to play the Wario game.
The Wario game is good. I can vouch to that.
So, aside from that, like, I hope it's more powerful. Like, if it's about on par with the Steam Deck, maybe that's asking a lot, but I think that would be good.
I think it's weird how the Steam Deck is like its biggest competition, and yet they are not competing in the slightest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nintendo never competes. They just kind of do their own thing.
And I think it's just the architecture of the software.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. Hopefully that stuff happens.
So, okay. Let's say first year of the Switch 2. What are some franchises you think we're going to see? Even if they don't put out games, that they announce that things are coming for the fancy schmancy Switch 2.
Mario. A new 3D Mario.
I can see a new Mario, maybe like an Odyssey 2 or something of that vein.
Does Metroid Prime 4 count?
I think Metroid Prime, we can already assume, is just gonna be there in some fashion, whether it's just a standard Switch release or not. It's clear we're getting the Switch 2 this year at some point. Yes.
Unless it gets delayed for whatever reason.
Well, that's always a possibility. I don't think we're gonna see anything Zelda for a little while.
No.
I think, between Tears of the Kingdom coming out a couple years ago and then Echoes of Wisdom coming out, if we do, it might be another one of those smaller experiences. Oh, if they do the DS thing and they port like Link Between Worlds, but I don't think we're going to see anything too new coming out of Zelda.
Unless we get a Twilight Princess Wind Waker HD
That'd
remaster.
Be so rude. Asking for it on the Switch forever, and they're like, we put it on Switch 2. Switch can't run it. Just like the 3DS can't run SNES games.
Yes.
Have to buy the new one. What about Smash Bros? I don't think people are hungry for a new Smash Bros right now.
No.
And like Ultimate came out, 2018, something like that. Like it's been a while, but
if there is a new Smash Bros, I'm going to say it's like 3 years in the lifespan.
It wouldn't be right away. No. That's for sure. But I do think we could probably.
Fuck me.
I know. Although he is working on something that he couldn't speak about right now. But I could see Animal Crossing being announced pretty early on. They want to build that momentum. We got the new console. Let's bring them back in with a new Animal Crossing game.
Yeah, because the last one came out in 2021.
Yep, sold like hotcakes.
Yep. That and Doom.
Yep.
Because they released on the same day. The whole Isabelle and Doom guy partnership.
That's such a cool like merging of fans that don't mesh.
Yes.
What a fun time to be alive. We need more.
It was pretty damn wholesome.
Like that. I don't know about Star Fox. Star Fox is probably still in limbo.
Unless they did
Punch
something
Out
with the mouse.
Ooh, okay. So, like how they put out ARMS early on in the Switch's life, and like it wasn't a bad game, just no one gave a shit. Do that again, but do Punch Out, and then people will give a shit.
Yeah,
I would be so down for a new Punch Out game.
Yep.
Or like how I was suggesting when we were last talking about Punch Out, because Punch Out is such a just straightforward experience. Do like a Nintendo Classics remaster where you've got like a small Punch Out game, fucking small balloon fight game, and then like a remake of Star Tropics or some shit.
Oh, that'd be wacky.
Wouldn't it? You like this Nintendo Saturday Afternoon collection.
You know what? Even if they came out with like a Super Nintendo World Champion,
I think that's on the horizon at some point. But that wouldn't hurt at the launch. It would be like a kind of like a 1-2 switch thing, but good.
Because I don't think the 1-2 switch things did good for them.
They came out with 2 of them, and no one cared for either of them. You know, if you want to do 1-2 switch, just do WarioWare, which they have proven time and time again do way better because they're the same thing but better.
Yes, and more.
But Wario,
the theme people
but
give a shit
Wario's
about.
scary. He smells weird. But
Yeah, no. Hopefully the classic controllers that they have work with the Switch too. I don't see why they wouldn't. But
I can't see that being an issue either.
You never know.
You know, anything I can bring a Super Nintendo controller, that's a good console right there.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I don't know. But we will find out in just a little under a month. At least some of our questions.
Yeah. Well, I guess 16, 17 days after this episode airs.
Yeah, that's giving us a precise date on the episode.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Do you think we should wrap this one up here? We're almost at the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah.
Yeah. Switch 2. I'm excited. I'm optimistic. I hope for good things. Obviously, as with anything that's coming out that we're excited about, and as physical collectors, the fact that I can play my physical games on the Switch 2, wonderful. Good call. Because there's a lot of controversy if that was even going to be a thing.
Well, and the last thing I want is to get this new console and then be like, well, I can't play my old games. I have these new games.
Yeah.
The cycle continues.
No. So I'm excited for it. That's all for this episode. We have been playing around with some things. We don't know what we're gonna do, but we may start live streaming these episodes. Nothing concrete yet. We are very well in the early talks about it, but give something for YouTube and whatnot instead of just a title screen. Definitely workshopping. So just being a little more transparent about that and what we're doing kind of behind the scenes. No guarantees, but some thoughts. Give us your thoughts. Give us your thoughts on this episode, or even just a live stream idea. You can find us over on Blue Sky at Optional Boss PC. You can find us on Instagram. We don't generally post, and X is just a shit show, so take that for what you will. Tyler, got anything else?
Play Donkey Kong 94 on Switch Online. It is fantastic. And tell us what you think about the Switch 2.
Yeah, what's
Does
your
it
prediction?
Scare you? Do you think it's coming for your family? No, that's about all I got.
With the mouse.
Yes.
We'll catch you all next time. This has been episode 56, and we've been the Optional Boss Podcast. Take care, everyone.
Bye.